Okay, so picture this. You're in the middle of it. Things are going well. And then your lower back just locks. Right there, mid-motion. And instead of finishing what you started, you're rolling to the side, trying not to make a sound, doing the math on whether this is a walk it off situation or a call the chiropractor Monday situation. Or maybe it's your hip, that deep ache that shows up the second you try to get into a certain angle, and your body just says, nope, not today. Or maybe nothing even hurts. You're just gone. 10 minutes in and your legs are shaking for the wrong reason. Your heart's pounding like you ran a mile, and you're trying to hide the fact that you need a break. And honestly, the embarrassment stings worse than the pain itself. The scramble to laugh it off. The little voice going, "This never used to happen to me." Well, I want you to hear this clearly right at the top. None of that means your sex life is over. It just means it needs an update. Same way you wouldn't run a marathon in the shoes you wore at 20, you don't need to be having sex the exact same way you did at 20 either. Your body's changed. Fine. So the plan changes with it. And that's really what this whole video is. The actual positions urologists, physical therapists, and pelvic health specialists point men toward when back pain, hip pain, or low energy start getting in the way. Not vague, just communicate with your partner fluff. Real mechanics, real adjustments, stuff you can use tonight. Now, here's something almost nobody explains to men dealing with this. The positions you probably default to, the ones you've used for 20, 30 years, were never actually designed with an aging spine or a cranky hip in mind. They were just what everybody does. Convention, habit. Take standard missionary, deep hip flexion, weight loaded straight down through your lower back and shoulders, your spine curving in a way that, if you already have disc issues or lumbar strain, is basically asking for trouble. It's the number one position urologists hear about when a guy says he threw his back out. Doggy style. Great position, plenty of people love it, but it puts a lot of load through the hips and knees, especially if you're kneeling on a mattress with zero support. If you've got hip arthritis or a bad knee, that position can turn a good night into a physical therapy appointment. And almost every standard position assumes a certain baseline of stamina. Sustained thrusting, weight bearing on your arms or knees, holding tension in your core the whole time. If your energy tanks fast, whether that's from age, medication, a heart condition, or just a rough week, those positions burn you out before you're anywhere near done. So it's not that you're doing anything wrong, it's that you're running an outdated program on new hardware. All right, before we get into specific positions, I want to give you the underlying logic, because once you understand it, you can adjust literally any position on the fly, not just the ones I list today. Urologists and PTs really boil this down to 3 ideas. First, reduce the range of motion your joints have to travel through. Pain usually shows up at the extreme end of a movement, not the middle. So smaller, more controlled movement almost always feels better on a compromised back or hip than big, sweeping motion. Second, let a surface do the work your muscles used to do. A mattress edge, a wall, a countertop, a stack of pillows. Support takes weight off your lower back and lets you stay engaged without holding tension the entire time. And third, change which joint is bearing the load. If your hip's the problem, shift into positions where your hip barely moves and your partner controls more of the motion. If it's your lower back, get into positions where your spine stays neutral instead of arched or curved. Keep those 3 ideas in your head, and everything from here on out is going to make sense. Now, I want to be upfront with you about something. YouTube has rules about how explicit I can get, visually and verbally, even when the topic is completely medical and completely normal. So I can describe positioning, sure, but I can't always show you the exact angle, the exact hand placement, the exact depth that makes the difference between, okay, that's manageable, and, oh, that's the one. which is exactly why I put together an illustrated guide. The only 5 sex positions you need to make her shake tonight, even if you're 70. It's built specifically around the body you actually have right now, not the one you had at 25. Every position's broken down visually, angle by angle, so there's no guessing, no interpreting vague descriptions, no wondering if you're doing it right. It's designed to protect your back, your knees, your breath, and still let you go deep and last. It's free, it's linked in the description and pinned in the comments below, and once you grab it, you'll also start getting weekly emails with the more explicit, more detailed tips I legally can't put in a YouTube video. Grab it, keep it on your phone, and you'll never have to fumble through this stuff blind again. Alright, back to it. If your lower back is the main issue, side lying positions are your best friend. Both of you on your sides, her back against your front. Your spine stays basically neutral here. No arching, no curving, no deep flexion. You're not holding your body weight up on your arms or straining to keep your hips at an angle. Everything stays low, controlled, and close. And the beauty of it is you can control depth and rhythm with small hip movements instead of big ones, which ties right back to that first principle: smaller range of motion, less pain. Plus, because you're lying down instead of holding a plank-like position, your lower back gets to just rest. It's supported by the mattress the whole time. A pillow between the knees or under the lower back for extra support makes a real difference too. Small adjustment, big payoff. Now, if it's your hip that's the problem, the goal shifts a bit. You want your hip out of deep, repetitive flexion, and you want your partner controlling more of the motion. A seated position, you on a sturdy chair or the edge of the bed, her on top facing you, is one of the best options here. Your hips barely move at all. You're mostly stable, she's doing the rocking and rhythm, and your hip joint stays close to neutral instead of grinding through a big range of motion over and over. This also happens to be a fantastic option if you're dealing with a fresh hip replacement or ongoing arthritis, since it avoids the deep bend that tends to trigger pain. And there's a nice side effect nobody mentions. This position brings a lot of intimacy and eye contact into it, which most guys don't expect but end up loving. Now for the stamina issue. If you're the type who's strong for the first few minutes and then hits a wall, the fix isn't pushing through it. It's picking positions that don't demand sustained physical output from you in the first place. Rear entry with you standing, her bent over a bed, countertop, or sturdy piece of furniture is great here, because your legs and core barely have to work. You're not holding a plank position, you're not bearing weight on your arms, you're just standing, which your body's used to doing all day anyway. Short bursts of movement, then a pause, then more. And there's no shame in the pause, by the way. Pausing is a stamina strategy, not a failure. Another good one, her on top, you lying flat on your back. Probably the single most energy-efficient position that exists. You contribute rhythm and depth control with small hip movements, but the bulk of the physical work shifts to her. If your energy crashes fast, this lets you stay fully present and engaged without gassing out in the first 5 minutes. Now, a lot of you watching this aren't dealing with just one of these. Maybe it's a bad back and low energy. Maybe it's a hip and a back. And here's the good news. The same principles stack right on top of each other. Side lying plus shorter sessions plus more pauses covers a back and low energy at once. Seated positions plus slower rhythm covers a hip and low energy at once. You don't need a whole different plan for every combination. You just need those 3 principles in your head, and then you mix and match based on what your body's telling you that day. And here's one more thing I want to throw in, because it changes everything. A lot of men treat foreplay like a warm-up act before the real event. Flip that thinking. The longer, slower, and more drawn out the buildup, the less physical demand there is once things actually get going. Because arousal ends up doing a lot of the heavy lifting for both of you before you even get to the positions we just covered. So if your energy's limited, don't save it for the main event. Spend it earlier, spend it slower, and you'll find the whole experience needs a lot less raw physical output from your body to get both of you where you're going. Breathing plays into this too, literally. Short, shallow breathing tightens you up and burns energy faster. Long, slow breaths through the nose keep your heart rate lower and your body more relaxed, which means you last longer with less effort. Try it next time. Sounds almost too simple to work. It works. So here's the real takeaway. Back pain, hip pain, low energy, none of that has to end your sex life. It just means the old playbook needs an update. Smaller range of motion. Let a surface or your partner carry more of the load. Shift which joint is doing the work. That's it. That's the whole system. And it applies to basically any position you already enjoy, not just the ones I mentioned today. If you want the fully illustrated version of this, 5 positions specifically engineered around the body you have right now, broken down visually so there's zero guesswork, grab the only 5 sex positions you need to make her shake tonight, even if you're 70. It's completely free, the link's in the description and pinned right at the top of the comments. And once you're on the list, you'll get weekly emails with the deeper, more explicit tips I simply can't say out loud on a platform like this. Go grab it, go try tonight's adjustment, and I'll see you in the next one.